All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get kicked off. I want to welcome you today to the webinar on how to turn your website into the ultimate sales machine. This is part one. We're going to run a series of these webinars for 2020 to help water, fire, mold remediation contractors really maximize their marketing investment, which if you're in the industry, odds are if you're sitting here today, you're the owner or the marketer for a restoration company, and you're looking for tips and strategies on how to maximize those marketing efforts. So we're going to dive right in to the webinar. If you guys are ready, if you want to drop a chat in there, say you're tuned in, tied in, ready to go. All right, looks like everybody's ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and start right off with the beginning of the webinar. So I want to go over a few things, what we're going to cover today. We're going to set some goals. I like to start all of these webinars off by setting clear goals. And the one thing I want you to take away from today is that you have to realize that your website is there to help you realize those goals for your business. That's one of the most important things. And that's why we always want to set goals, because without goals, you're just kind of floating in the wind and kind of guessing. And we're going to give you a very macro overview of some fundamentals for website design that are going to ultimately help you lead to better conversion rates on your site, converting traffic into sales on the website. So we're going to assume that you don't have a website at all, and part of this is going to be talking to you people that actually have a website out there. And more so, we're going to dive just a little, we're just going to scratch the surface on some conversion tips that we use from an aesthetic standpoint on the web dev side for our restoration clients there that are really helping them maximize their conversions. So you guys are all ready to kick off. I'm getting super excited to unpack this webinar. Just some housekeeping before we kick off and start. Just make sure here, I just had a camera drop here, a little technical difficulty. All right, some housekeeping before we kick off. Couple things, obviously let's make sure we turn off or silence your cell phones. I want you guys to be super zeroed into this. And I know if you own a business out there, you're a small business owner, you own a large business, you're a marketer, you get bombarded all day long with emails and phone calls. But if you really want to get something out of this and maximize your time, I suggest just putting the cell phone aside, silence it, and really tune into what we're going to go over today. And the same thing too, go ahead and shut down any social media accounts you might have open up on your browser. Just to make sure, again, you're super dialed into what we're going to be going over. Again, close any open tabs you may have. There's going to be a chance towards the end that we're going to kind of do some live, looks at some of your websites out there, just to kind of go over and kind of recap everything we're going to talk about today. And special treat, if you stay to the end, I'm going to go ahead and send you over a free copy of our Ultimate Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Industry Businesses. This essentially is just a checklist of things that we've put together over the years for our restoration contractors that kind of do some reality checks with where you're at, specifically talking about your website and some of your marketing efforts that you may be putting out there to try to ultimately get you some more leads and sales for your restoration business. So yeah, stay to the end. You actually get a little more incentive. Not only do you get to learn a ton of great information to help you maximize your marketing budgets, but you will get a really good checklist to kind of see where you're at in the grand scheme of things. So who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, my name is Benjamin Riccardi, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing. Actually, before this, I was a contractor for 15 years, so I really understand the industry. We work with restoration contractors across the United States, helping them get more leads and sales to their restoration business. I've spoken at a number of restoration industry events and trade shows. I'm also the president of a few different networking groups down here. You're probably familiar in your area with a BNI group and things like that. I do believe in the power of networking. It's one of the ways as a business owner that you can get out there not only to drive sales for yourself, but also to learn to be a better business owner and a networker. So I've actually stepped up and been president of a couple of these boards here. And we are accepted as an expert in the restoration industry space as far as marketing. And we do work with restoration businesses, air quality control, home inspectors, a lot of people in that vertical across the United States. All right. And this is what we do. We help restoration businesses get more leads, sales, and traffic by getting their internet marketing right. It's a very ambiguous service that we provide out there, especially those of you out there that spent a lot of money or invested any money into digital marketing. You can go down a rabbit hole with a lot of misinformation out there. So again, the important part of this webinar series that we're putting out here is really kind of clarify, shed some lights on what works and what doesn't work, and also get to know some things from you, what's working for you, and what doesn't work for you. So as I mentioned before, we do specialize in marketing for restoration contractors, and we do that with something we like to call the digital omnipresence method for the maximum flow of calls, leads, and profitability in a restoration business. And the short end of that is, you know, you want to be omnipresent in your space and be considered an authority in your space. So when your target demographic, your target consumer or a target client is going out there, you are omnipresent in the world, especially in the digital space. So you have a nice looking website, you're driving organic traffic to that website, you might be doing some paid ads, you're doing social media campaigns, print, all of those things collectively create an omnipresence in your space. So today, we're gonna do a very macro overview of step one in any of this things that we do here in digital marketing, and that's gonna be your website. Okay, so we're really going to talk and dive into some of these more of these channels in our web series that are going to be coming up. We're going to be running about once a month here coming up. And like I mentioned, the first thing I always want to do when we do this is setting some clear goals. Goals are just wind in your sails, and we want to always look at, anytime we do anything, is what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve by doing so? Okay, so we always want to keep that in the back of our head. We practice something here at Ironclad called purposeful marketing. We always want to have a why behind what we do. And just to back up the whole goal-orientated kind of mentality that we have here, you may have seen this before, but I always love to look at this because it really sheds some light on and backs up why you should have clear-cut goals. So in 1979, a company did an interview of all the graduates graduating from Harvard University. Out of that entire graduating class, 84% of those students did not have any clear written down goals. Okay, 13% of that class had goals, but they just were not written down. 3% of that graduating class actually had goals that were written down with a plan of action on how they were going to accomplish them. So the results really being the 13% of the class that really had no goals at all were earning on average about twice as much as that other 84%. I mean, so that's literally just having a goal in your head that you want to achieve. On average, you were earning about twice as much as the other people had nothing. They were just graduated. Hey, we're gonna join the workforce and see what happens. But even more staggering than that, the 3% of the graduates that had clear written down goals were earning 10 times as much as both the 84% and the 13% put together. So if that helps you out in that world there, and that's why we always, with all of our clients and anything we do, we always want to make sure we have clearly written goals and a plan of action to try to make those work. Again, clear goals is wind in your sails. So think about that today. What are your goals for 2020 for your restoration business? You know, are you looking at things like what's your revenue target? You know, we look back at 2019 and you did X amount of dollars. What do you want to do in 2020, right? And then, you know, from there you reverse engineer that number. So let's say your revenue target's $1 million this year. You did 500 last year, so you're doubling. What does that mean that you need to get monthly to really be able to achieve that goal? And more so, how many jobs is that going to require you guys to do? Okay, those are three huge components whenever you're creating some sort of marketing strategy or marketing plan for your restoration business that you always have to start with. Because if you have no goal, you're really losing out on the wind in your sails, and you're kind of just allowing the world to take you where you want to go rather than paving the path for yourself. And you know, one of the things you're going to look at to help you decide how many jobs that's going to take is looking at your average transaction value in your space. Okay, and I said this at the beginning of the webinar. You really have to understand that your website nowadays in this digital world, in this digital marketplace, is becoming more and more prevalent. You need to make sure that you understand that your website exists to get people to fulfill your business goals. So if you have your pad and paper, write that down and memorize it, because this is going to be the key to all of your success when you're marketing if you keep those things in the back of your head. And I mentioned before, your website's the hub. Okay, you have to consider your website like home base. You know, that's where all of your content is stored. That's where your end user is going to go. That's where all of your social media channels, your email marketing, and everything, if you have a correct marketing strategy, everything ends up on your website, which is why we're starting off this multi-part series and webinar on marketing for your restoration business with your hub, your website. All And so we're going to go over a few basics on web design. Again, I know as I mentioned in the beginning, I had a couple of people join on a couple minutes ago. We're really giving you a macro overview of some of the just key strategies and fundamentals that you need to make sure you have on your website to ensure that, one, if you're driving traffic to your website, you're spending money on SEO or Google Ads, well, you want to make sure that traffic converts. Okay, so part 2 of this, we're gonna go over some basics of the web design. The foundation is always where you want to start. Look, you guys are probably contractors or you're marketers for contractors, so you get it. You can only build a business as large as your foundation, right? And the same exists for your website. Your website, building it correctly from day one, making sure that you're trying to touch on the key points and strategies to get that traffic to convert on your website is paramount. And then, as the months follow, you always know it's infallible that your website's set up properly. So anything that's working or not working, you can at least eliminate that from the gamut of things that you probably have to do here to try to get traffic and build up a bigger client base and increase your revenue to reach those goals that we talked about in the beginning. So a couple things that we like to do is we always work with the WordPress content management system. It's a really search engine friendly. We like to use it for that. It's very user-friendly as well. And the bigger thing is, a lot of contractors out there, if you're a guy that owns, your own business, you're an entrepreneur, you're starting out, WordPress is great because, one, you can do it yourself, but two, a lot of developers work on WordPress, right? So we see it all the time with some of our clients where they're working with another agency and you say, you know what, it's time to move on. We haven't gotten anything out of you, and they stranglehold you with your information. And then you end up starting over at the end of the day. Well, with WordPress, pretty much anybody that's worth their salt as a developer can work on a WordPress platform. And 9 times out of 10, they can work with an old site that you've been working with and kind of get that up to par as far as all these different ideas for conversion that go. All right, so it's very easy to move the site back and forth. And there's a lot of functionality with WordPress at most of the time 0 cost. So your web forms, certain plugins that you may need to use on your website. A lot of times, 90% of the time, we get by for our clients with all the plugins, all the functionality they need to actually end up getting jobs at the end of the day for little to no external cost outside of the design of the website. And there's no monthly maintenance costs or anything like that on these plugins. And like I said before, you can maintain these websites yourself. WordPress is super user-friendly, and the fact that everybody out there can kind of work with WordPress. There's billions of hours of resources out there on YouTube and websites and blogs that will teach you from script to screen how to build a site, how to maintain the site, how to update the site. So, again, that's always want to go towards a WordPress content management system for this type of service-based industry that we're in here with the restoration industry. And the other cool thing about it is it really integrates well because it's so open source and everybody uses it. A lot of the big CRMs, a lot of the scheduling software, even your invoicing and billing and project management softwares integrate right into these websites seamlessly. So if you're using WordPress right now, you understand exactly what I'm saying. If you don't have a website yet, or you've had marketers tell you you don't need one, you can just run some Facebook ads. This is really valuable information for you to make sure you're starting off on the right foot. I can't tell you how many times I've seen when we get a client in here that they've gone through 4 or 5 different websites, 4 or 5 different agencies. And again, too, one of the biggest reasons businesses fail is because they trust these sources of non-information. They're sales-based companies that are out there just kind of giving you that shiny new object. So by kind of taking control, having your own website built on WordPress, you can kind of make moves as needed. If your agency's not doing a good job, package up that website, bring it on to somebody else, and let them work on it. And a couple things too, if you don't have a website, hosting is important. Site speed is something that Google looks at, especially if you're investing money in search engine optimization and your domain authority. So when you're looking for a domain, if you don't own a website, you don't own a domain or anything like that, you just want something that's easy to type in. You don't want a domain name that's super long with hyphenations. You want it short and easy to remember. A lot of times, we strongly suggest setting up an email account on that domain, so mine is ben.r@ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. And the shorter the domain, the easier it is and the less apt you're going to be to missing traffic or missing an email or having somebody not be able to find your website online. Always stay away from hyphens. We've seen a lot of clients come in and they want a website. They have this business name it's just their baby. And unfortunately, the domain's not available. So one of the alternates they can do is throw a hyphen in there. we try to stay away from that. We always want to just stick with something short. Typically, we'll work with our clients and we'll do some domain research and kind of find something that makes sense. And you got to remember, your domain does not have to be your business name. You know, you could be, if your domain is molddoctor.com, you know, if your business name is Mold Doctors of, you know, San Antonio, Texas, you know, your domain name could just be molldmd.com. You know, it's short, it's catchy, it's marketable, and it looks good on a business card. So you do want to make sure this domain can translate to print very nicely, which is why we stay away from hyphenations and really long, drawn out domain names. And another thing that comes up a lot is everybody wants that .com. Not 100% necessary. There's a lot of people out there that'll buy and park domains and resell them. So, you know, for Mold Doctors San Antonio.com might be taken by an agency and they're trying to sell it to you for $4,000 or something like that. Go with the .net. Go with another type of domain extension. At the end of the day, you know, when you have a website, you know, really for restoration contractors, you should be doing search engine optimization on that website. If you are doing SEO and the agency's worth their salt, they're going to be building, at the end of the day, they're building an authority on a domain. So the .net are perfectly fine if you can't get the .com. And the other thing to keep in your head is these people are paying to keep that domain renewed on a year-by-year basis. So you actually could end up one day, if you want to check on it, getting that domain for $11 if they decide not to keep renewing that domain cost. And at the end of the day, having a website's great, but if you're not doing any kind of search engine optimization on it, it's almost like having the nicest business cards in the world that you don't take out of your company vehicle ever and give to anybody, right? So just having a website out there, that's wonderful, but how do you drive people there? That's the bigger ticket here. And so when you're building this site from a foundation, you want to make sure you're sticking with Google standards and some protocol and basic foundations, you know, a lot of the things we just talked about, but you always want to make sure you're keeping the search engines happy. These days, you know, I think the numbers recently, I just looked on Monday, I think 94% of online experiences, this means across the board, start with a search engine. And out of that 94%, they say the numbers around 76% come from a mobile device. Actually did a poll in our BNI meeting on Monday, and 100% of the people raised their hand when I asked them if they've used Google in the past week to find a new product or service, and the same 100% of those people said they found it with their cell phone. So mobile first design, Google released an algorithm a few years ago that if your site, they're looking at the mobile version first. They're all about delivering their user base the most pertinent information in the most easy way possible and making sure that you're legitimate. So making sure that you have a mobile first design is super important these days. Just given the numbers that are coming to the website, you know, you want to cater to the majority of people that are coming there. You want a website that, again, is easy to navigate, it's easy to get in touch. You want a website that a fourth grader can go on and in one glance on your homepage, turn around and tell you what you do. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. In this microwave society, people are distracted all over the place. You do not want to add any extra steps for them to try to take action on their site. And the other part about it is, you know, the benefit that you have here in the restoration industry is that typically when you have somebody that's looking to use one of your services, it's more emergency based. You know, these guys are not tire kickers. They're not trying to find the best restaurant out there. They have a kitchenette caught on fire. They've got water damage, they've got mold growing in their bedrooms, and they need somebody right now. So again, that just backs up making sure you have a comprehensive search engine optimization program. But from a fundamental standpoint on your website, you want to make sure that those people, when they do navigate to your site, can get in touch with you right away. Okay. Which leads you to making sure you have like clickable phone numbers, making sure you have strong calls to action in a booking area on the website. And a lot of the same principles we're going to talk about here in the next couple slides apply to the mobile site. So your mobile site, and I'll show you some examples down the road, but a mobile site really just, you want it even easier on a mobile site. They don't care. They want to get on that website. They want to get a phone number. They want to call. Clickable numbers, nice font contrast, strong calls to action of what you do. A lot of the same principles apply to the desktop version of the site. One big thing that a lot of clients, especially new people that we start off with, if you have a website yourself, this is something you can check, but you want to make sure you have a separate service page for each one of your core services. And the rule of thumb is, you know, trying to have it around, you know, we can get really crazy and technical, but, you know, the easiest way to put it is you want to have at least 500 words of content that's keyword rich that are based and pertinent to those types of services, okay, on your website. So if you're, you know, a mold remediator, making sure you have a page for each one of your core services that you want to be ranked on Google for. Okay, that just keeps Google happy, helps them index your site, it helps the giant librarian that is Google figure out where to file your stuff in this digital Dewey Decimal System that we have. And I talk about proper font contrast and size of your font. The one thing you don't want to have happen is have a homeowner go to your website from a cell phone and have to zoom in and read your text or read your phone number, or on a desktop site. Let's say, you know, your grandparents went on the website, they found you from Google, they have smoke damage in their kitchen, and you have a website that the font's really light and it's hard to read. Well, not only are they probably not going to take action with you, but now Google's starting to look at things like that because they all tie into ADA compliance. And you know, we want to just make sure we're in the up and up with Google. We have to play their game. We have to do it right. We have to stay in this marathon to keep Google happy, and it changes weekly. And I'm sure any of you that are marketers out there that are dealing with an agency, you understand that. I mean, these algorithms change all day, but at the end of the day, Google's changing these algorithms to enhance the user experience. All right, so we have to play ball with anything that we do from a web design perspective. And you know, I cannot tell you how many websites we look at that don't have strong messaging or a call to action. You know, 24/7 emergency service, call us now. We guarantee to be there in 24 hours. Guarantee a callback within an hour. I've seen a lot of different things, but messaging is so important, and that's going to lead us to this. Take some time and think about what message do you have out there on your website. If you don't have a website, keep this in the back of your head, write some notes down, but what is your message? You know, you want to think about a couple things. Why should someone choose to do business with you versus your competition? Is it that you provide 24/7 service? If you're an indoor air quality guy and you are trying to get some B2B work with some remediation contractors, you know, put something out there about your reporting. You know, you have fast, accurate reporting. It's going to make the clients happy. It's going to make that remediator look really good at the end of the day and get you guys some social proof with some testimonials after that. And the other thing you can look at is, you know, what are some benefits that you offer your target customer that is going to resonate with them, you know? Just a real easy idea is that, hey, 1% of all of our profits going to get donated to a charity, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, you want to figure out who your target customer is, and in your case, it's somebody with water, fire, mold, smoke, or storm damage, and what is going to resonate with them, right? It's super easy in your industry, you know, from the without going too deep into it, but really it's that you provide, you know, next day service, you got professional technicians, you've got those trust logos on your site with the IICRC or RIA or any of the other industry associations you may be a part of. You know, that's the kind of stuff you want to think about to have on your homepage. And here's some messaging that works. Same day service. We just talked about this 24-hour service, on-time service. I know that if my kitchen flooded, I'm going to want somebody there right away. And it's the same thing that, you know, we have some legacy clients that are in HVAC space. And, you know, we're in South Florida. So when your air conditioning gets broke, you want somebody there quickly. And so the same principles apply to what you do as a restoration contractor. Something else you can look for, you know, and if it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. Straightforward pricing, upfront pricing, or satisfaction guaranteed, some sort of graphic on there to imply that kind of thing. Just give a little bit more trust. And then again, throwing that trustworthy technicians, trusted technicians, or experience always helps move the needle a little bit when it comes to converting that traffic that's on your site into sales. And really, it's up to you to make the case. You offer fast same-day service. Do you have money-saving offers? $50 off your first visit, a free assessment up front, free mold assessment, whatever the case may be. It's another way that you're going to get to help convert and optimize your website to convert traffic. 24 hours guaranteed, no overtime charges is something that we see a lot in the service industry. We'll leave your home cleaner than we found it. I've noticed a lot of reviews in this space that, you know, people, one of the big complaints, it's weird, is that, you know, people complain, you know, hey, yeah, they did a great job remediating my house, the kitchen looks great, but, you know, they stained my couch, or they ripped something, they put a big hole in the wall and they didn't look for it. You know, those are things that could resonate with somebody. You know, they want to make sure that they're in great hands when you guys actually go in there and get them as a job. Guarantee service. You know, look, if you're in business and you're not guaranteeing a great service, you're in the wrong business. You should always have client-focused processes and procedures. Here's some ideas of some graphics you can have on the website. The satisfaction guaranteed 24/7 service. And we move to the next. You want to make sure that, remember, your website is called a hub. It's the hub of all your information. We want to make sure that that hub converts. Okay, so you want to make sure, again, you're device responsive. Your site translates across all mediums, including desktop, mobile, and any other device, making sure it's device responsive. Okay, and when I talk about conversion, we're talking about converting traffic to your website into sales. Okay, so visitors to your website to leads. That's all this is about. And here's a few fundamentals. Is your website, and you guys can take a look after we're over with this, and this is going to be all included in the checklist that I'm going to give you at the end of this. But you want to make sure your website's set up to convert visitors to callers. All right? Do you have a professional logo? One of the first things we look at when we're analyzing a website is, do they have a logo? I mean, a lot of people out there, they just don't understand the benefit. They have these archaic ideas with marketing, and people are going to just go for it. You want to have a professional logo. I mean, that's your forward-facing brand. That's like, your website's like a storefront in a mall. If you have a storefront that's got dirt all over the windows and it just looks bad and your employees are bad, somebody's probably not going to walk in there. You may offer a great service, but the first impression is going to last. And we always look for a nice professional-looking logo up at the top. Right away. Trust logos are always great. They don't necessarily have to be in the header, but when somebody sees, whether it's direct to consumer or B2B, and they see those trust logos there, that means you've made an investment as a business owner to be the best you could possibly be, right? So that's going to add a little bit more trust value to your website, okay? And you're building authority in these users' eyes, okay? We talk about, this is a big one that people miss out on quite a bit. Sorry, some technical things with the camera, but having a phone number right there at the top right of the screen. Don't make them dig. Don't make them guess. Phone number's right there. Remember, people have an immediate need for your service. Don't make it difficult for them to get in touch with you. Sorry there. So these are just 3 crucial items that if you don't have these on your website, before you do anything else, I would make sure you're getting a hold of your web guy and getting these things tightened up. Okay. Remember we talked about having some of those guarantees. What makes you different? What's your messaging? Here's an example of that. Emergency 60-minute response time. Okay. Look, this may be the thing that gets you a lead versus your competitor. They know you guarantee that you're going to be there within an hour. I mean, I'll tell you what, if an air conditioning company, if my AC's broke down here in South Florida and somebody guarantees they're going to be at my house in an hour, I'm going to call them first. Okay. And we call calls to action. Okay. The other thing is, you see, a big thing to build trust with your clients is, hey, showcase those Google reviews. Okay, say you have a 5-star rating on Google. People in the buying process, so they found you on Google, they've gone to your website. You have all these elements in place, and now the next thing, what are they going to do? What do? You're going to go and you're going to check some Google reviews. What are other people saying? What are their experiences? So if you're providing a great service as a restoration contractor to your clientele, and you're getting these reviews, make sure you put that on your website. There's plugins that are free that will link right to your Google business and populate those reviews in real time right on your website, and why not? And we talk about a few things too initially is, we want that, there's an old adage with newspaper and print marketing that the most important information goes above the fold, okay? They don't have to open a newspaper, they don't have to do anything, and this principle we apply to web design, okay? So when your homepage, the first thing that they see, we want the most important information right up front, right in front of their face, which again, name of the business with the logo. Oh, I see we have a little issue with the slide progress. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. How's that? Let me know if you can see it again. You see the review? Just shoot me a message. Okay, great. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. If anybody sees anything during this whole thing, hey, it's not a perfect system here. We're all in this together. Again, so back to the reviews. You just want to have those reviews populated as closely as possible. Why not? When we're talking about above the fold information, what's the most important information? Who you are, who can back you up into that industry, something that makes you stand out versus your competition, clickable phone number in the top right. The eyeballs are going to go naturally from left to right. It's just how we're taught to read in the United States. Having those logo in the front, and then what you do. Don't make them dig. When they get to your website, yeah, we are fire, water, roofing, mold, restoration contractors. We'll help you out no matter what your problem is. And that's as your services. You want them above the fold. And there's a million different ways you can showcase these things. But the most important to remember is that it's above the fold. And we got to remember even more so than that now is that we want to make sure that the mobile version of your site, I'm going to show you real quick what the difference is in a mobile site. So we're just going to pick on somebody real quick here. They just sent me their URL here, Clear Environmental. And so, we look at some of the principles we just talked about. Professional looking logo, top left, clickable phone number. You've got a different page for each one of your core services, and we'll dive into some of this a little bit deeper, but the most important thing is that you have a mobile-friendly version of your website. And when you're looking at this website, you have phone number, clear as day, call to action, Click here to learn more. And there's definitely some improvements that can be made on this hero banner here. There we go. So this isn't the perfect way to showcase, but this gives you an idea of what your site might look on mobile. And now look, we've changed the entire structure of the homepage to show their core services right when you walk up. We don't want them to have to dig too much for this information. I mean, look, if I think I have mold in my house, I'm not waiting too long. I'm looking right into this right away. Okay, so we'll get back into the presentation here. All right. So is your website set up for conversion? So a couple things that we talked about. We're just going to recap. Does your website speak to your target customer? Does it address their fears and frustrations and why they should choose you? Again, we got it made in the restoration space because typically they need you right away. They're not kicking tires. They're not trying to find a place to go get brunch. They're trying to find somebody to come scrape the mold off their walls or remediate a water damage, or they've got a serious emergency that they're dealing with. I know South Florida, we're hurricane prone, we're like the magnet for hurricanes around the world. So when somebody down here has storm damage, they're not waiting around and they're not vetting a bunch of people out. That's why you want to make sure your website just covers all those bases for them. One thing too that a lot of people miss out on, and again, look, if you're just starting out, you're not going to be able to make this happen, but this is something when we talk about goals, making sure you have it. You want to have authentic images of your team on your homepage and throughout the website. So if you're a remediation contractor and you've got 4 trucks or you're family owned and operated, have a picture of you and the family, a picture of you and the team right there on the homepage with your guarantee. Family owned and operated since 1975, we guarantee that you're not going to have any issues right there. I mean, that's important information above the fold here. And if you just are starting out, you might not have any of that stuff. A savvy web developer, a graphics person, if you have access to them, we can make something happen typically by putting up a blank of a vehicle you may be buying in the future and mocking up like a wrap on it. But what you really want to end up eventually on the website, stock images are fine. But what you're going to notice is a lot of people are using the same stock images. So always authenticity is important for this stuff, especially with the people that you're talking to. Video, again, this is just scratching the surface, but if you have a video for your company, throw it on the homepage, okay? If you have testimonials of clients that you've worked with that can give you a video testimonial, put that on the homepage. There is a multitude of different things that we can do to syndicate that information, or you can do to syndicate that information, whether it's a blog post, setting up a YouTube channel to drive qualified traffic to your site through that video, and also just adding to that trust value in your website. So, and you don't have to spend a bunch of money on the video. I mean, nowadays, cell phones, the cameras on cell phones are probably, they film movies with iPhones. So really it's a matter of just taking action. Okay, so I'm the owner of a company. You just say, hey, how's it going? This is Ben Riccardi, CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and we help restoration industry businesses get more sales and leads by getting their internet marketing right. So applying that same kind of overview script to your business, it's as simple as that. Pull out your cell phone, record you talking, have your secretary, have somebody videotape you speaking to your target customer, going over and explaining your services, maybe how your processes work. But I'll tell you right now, people are going to be more apt to watch a video rather than read through your entire website. Okay, so again, these are just some tips that you can think in the back of your head. If you're not doing them, put it aside, learn a little bit more about it, and I promise you that these are all things that are going to help you get more sales from your website at the end of the day. Again, we talked about a website welcome video. You know what they are. You do not have to spend a lot of money on them. A lot of times, we film a lot of our videos in-house with our cell phones. We have editing apps on our phone that sometimes are free. I mean, you can add text, you can add music, you can add your logo to it. I mean, you could really come up with something that is done. Done is better than perfect, or I think they said perfect is the enemy of being done. Just get something out there, and you'll always be able to make it better down the road when your sales are generating and you have a budget to really be able to expand your marketing efforts. Okay, videos for each one of your services are great. If you're a mold remediator, hey, here's how our process works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set you up with an assessor. They're going to make sure you actually have mold, and then here's our process. That's really important because people want to see that. And if they don't, it's just another avenue when you're talking about YouTube marketing, and we talk about our method, that digital omnipresence. It's just being everywhere that they are. You have a website, you've got a YouTube channel that you're just putting a ton of content on. You're active on social media, you're doing email marketing, you're on LinkedIn, you're doing all these things, creating this omnipresence. These videos really help with that. And you can turn these videos into a blog. You can make them into a podcast if you want, just transcribing the audio from it. And the other thing that really works really well, there's actually 2 phased here. A video explaining why somebody should do work with you versus your competition. Okay, that's really important. And even more so, to make that, to drive that home a little bit better, is getting a testimonial. there is nothing more powerful than a client testimonial, okay? Especially in somebody's extreme time and need in your space. If it's, Mrs. Johnson, hey, these guys stepped in, they were professional, they were clean, they were upfront, they helped us through all of our insurance woes that we were going through. They painted a very clear picture. They were here when they said they were going to be here. They left my house looking better than it ever was. Oh my God, I thought that my world was coming to an end when we had this fire in our kitchen. I mean, look, if somebody's trying to vet you out versus your competition, tell me something more powerful than somebody coming right out of somebody's mouth, out of your target demographic, okay? Again, on your homepage, if you got them, and one thing we'll talk about, and we're going to dive into a lot, every one of these channels we're talking about, we're going to have webinars here, and we're going to dive into each one of these specifically. So we're really going to crank down on each one of these avenues. But for now, look and make sure you're getting Google reviews, okay? Make sure you're getting authentic Google reviews. You don't have to get 100 every day, 1 or 2 a month. It's just consistent growth on your YouTube, on your Google review side. And again, show them off. What's the point of getting these awards and getting these people talking good about you if you don't have them on your website? Okay, so that's one thing you want to make sure you have. I would always put your client testimonials right there on the homepage. And even more important, you want to make it very easy. I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again. You want a 4-year-old or 4th grader or a 5th grader to be able to go on the site and tell you what you do and be able to know how to get in touch with you. Having that call now, book now. If you have a scheduling software with a CRM in your website, that's even better. And you want to make sure you're getting your basics in order. Phone number top right. Make sure you have a web form that they can fill out. Not everybody wants to pick up the phone. Again, in your industry, it's a little bit more of an urgency, but maybe they don't know they have mold. Maybe they're just looking for somebody to come in and tell them if they have mold. You never know, but you want to cast a wide net. And you don't want to lose out on a lead. So if you have a really solid CRM platform, a webhook is amazing. Getting a web form they can fill out. You get their name, email, phone number. Your salesperson's able to follow up on that lead. I think you've got about 15 minutes to follow up on a lead. So giving them every opportunity they can to communicate with you and give you information is very important. Okay. And authority symbols. If you're a member, you're spending a lot of money if you're a member of IICRC or RIA or any other of the industry associations. And even like Better Business Bureau and Angie's List, you're paying to be there. Put them up on the site. Get them right there. As a consumer that doesn't know, you don't know anything, they're going to go, they're going to see that. It's going to add instant authority to your website and your brand. Calls to action are very important that you have. If you're a mold assessor, getting that messaging out there is really important. You want that information above the fold, okay? Very simply put, again, keep in mind, people are more apt to take action on something that scares them. I know for a lot of air quality clients of ours, one of the big things out there is, hey, look, you may have mold and not even know it. If you're experiencing symptoms of coughing, sneezing, trouble breathing, there's a good chance you might have mold. People are going to probably be more apt to take action on it. If you watch the news out there, right before they're teasing the 10 o'clock news, they're going to say something that's going to scare you. You're going to want to go check out the news and what they're going to talk about. Is your playground killing your children? Something like that's you're probably going to tune in or TiVo that episode of the news and apply those principles to your website and calls to action because it is legitimate. Especially in South Florida, they're more of the humid places in the United States. Mold is becoming more prevalent. The more research that's done on the mold, the more it's important for you to educate your consumers or your target demographic on what could possibly make them want to call you up. And one thing that not 100% crucial, but I always suggest implementing some sort of CRM. And a lot of these CRMs have a live chat function. And again, what that's doing is it's allowing you to be able to follow up with these leads instantly. And if you have a good CRM, the one that we use in-house, we have a custom CRM that we roll out for our clients. We actually build out chat sequences. Okay, we build out email sequences, chat sequences, and it really takes a lot of the management of that lead off of your salespeople or off the owner if you're just a one-man show, and it actually warms those leads up. And our a CRM that's good is you can actually watch these leads happen in real time. So if somebody goes onto your website at 5 in the morning, which happens quite a bit, you have a live chat function. You're going to have something pop up and ask them if they have any questions. They're going to engage with that live chat, and that live chat function either should be asking them to make an appointment or getting their email and their phone number so you can follow up with them right away. All right. Again, we're always talking about converting traffic into sales. You could have the Taj Mahal of websites out there, but if there's no traffic coming to it, you're out of luck. And if you do have traffic to coming to it and your phone's not ringing, then we've got to do something here to get you to convert that traffic into some sales for yourself. So every opportunity you can give that user to give you their information and tell you what's wrong is super important. And again, a good CRM that you can implement, like our custom CRM does all of that for you, to where you're logging into a dashboard and you see, wow, this person's taken action, they've set up an appointment, he's doing a lot of that work for you. So you can concentrate on what matters most, and that's providing a really good service for your clients and following up with them. And some takeaways. I know we went over a lot of stuff today, but think about, what did you learn? Is there anything you'd like to share? Drop a message in the chat. We've got quite a bit of people on this today, taking a look and watching this webinar. And something I always like to do is checking out some websites to kind of show you how these principles apply. Looks like Cat 1. Okay, so we got it. All right, so we're going to run through some of these principles. We do have somebody that volunteered their website. We're going to go away from clear. It's Cat 1 water restoration here. Okay, so if you remember in the beginning of this, the first couple things we look at are the header. The first byte, here's above the fold, here's the fold of the newspaper, here's your website. You do have a logo up at the top left. Great, wonderful, you have a logo. But what's missing here is you have no clickable phone number in your header. That's something right off the bat. That's the first thing I would say. If you're not getting calls from this website, this is one of the reasons why. And it doesn't, so now we talk about, again, the messaging here. So you do have a nice call to action right here on the homepage, great. But this isn't even what you do. I mean, you're a water damage restoration. You're really not saying any of that right here on the homepage. Again, you got to remember, the first thing that people look at is you have to direct them into where they need to be. Okay, so you're missing that critical element here. A really easy solution is, again, we talk about authentic images. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this stock image on a remediation or restoration website. And again, this does nothing for them. Their pain point is, odds are their living room is not this full of water, but you want to have stronger calls to action there. Maybe even as simple as just getting your services, having 4 slides. You have a water remediation, #1 water remediator in, looks like here, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, #1 water remediation service in Pompano Beach, Florida. 5-star Google review, the next slide, really just speaking to those pain points, your target demo. The other thing I noticed, again, we don't have a phone number up here. How do I get in action? And I can't click this one to call you. So if I'm on a mobile, and we'll check the mobile here after shortly, I can almost guarantee you can't click this number, but I've been wrong before. It doesn't happen very often. The other thing, the fundamental thing is you have, and I'm going to guess you do not have a separate page for your services, okay? So if I'm the Joe Schmo user and I'm trying to find somebody to remediate my flood in my living room here, yeah, you do tell out your services, but the most important thing is, look, we want to be search engine friendly. They're not going to find this website. If somebody typed in on Google, water remediation in Pompano Beach, Florida, there's a good chance that you're not going to have content out there that's going to elicit those search results, okay? So again, you want to make sure, it's best practices always to have a separate page for each one of your core services. Without getting too technical, try to keep it about 500 words of content that's keyword rich, okay? And make sure that you have strong images, you have clickable phone numbers. Again, you want to make it really easy for them to get into contact with you, okay? We'll head back on over to the home page. You don't have a lot of content here, all right? So, I probably going to go out on a limb and say you probably don't convert very well on this site. And there's some basic things that you can apply, that just those 3 principles that will probably enhance your conversion on your website by 10-fold, guaranteed. Getting stronger calls to action, some better hero banners, putting the phone number up at the top right, separating your services into each page. Just give me a good welcome message here, throw some testimonials up in the front, a little web form they can fill out. Let's say, it's outside of business hours. I know it says 24/7. But hey, all of us have to go on vacation. All of us have to sleep sometimes. So having these other avenues of communication are very important. And we'll go ahead, and if you guys ever want to do this to check out, it's not 100% the way to check out a mobile site, but if you hit F12 on your keyboard when you're looking at a website, it's going to drop this into your mobile version. So again, you still have your logo up here, the menu's easy to find. You don't have a separate page for your services, that's fine. But the big thing you're missing here, so imagine if somebody's on their cell phone, you don't have a way for them to click a button and call you. So literally, they're going to be looking at this website. They're going to say, okay, well, here's the number. Let me write this down, or whatever it is, and I'm going to get off the website and I'm going to put the phone number to my phone. I'm going to call them, and look, you're just adding an extra step when your competition probably has something that has a clickable phone number. I've looked at a few. Okay, so JC just sent me another website. Let's check these guys out. We'll finish up with these guys. So yeah, just a few really small tweaks to the site, without going too crazy, would really help you convert a little bit better. Let's see, we got one more site here, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing. Bear with me, guys. Hopefully you guys are finding this information valuable. Again, we're going to, if you guys keep in touch, we're going to be rolling out a lot of these webinars in the future. Okay, here we go. These are restoration doctors. Again, here, same principles apply. This almost looks like a mobile site based off of here, right? So if I'm landing on this website, you do have a nice call to action here. You got a nice professional logo. Here's a nice strong thing that's going to make you different: 24/7 emergency restoration services. But again, look, you're missing, there's really not a lot here. This almost to me looks like a blog post that would be an article somewhere, okay? You have a call now button. That's great. It looks like it links properly. Your menu is hidden. Definitely suggest, it looks like you have a different page for each one of your services. Let's check this out. Yep, so you've got some content on here. It looks, you probably got close to 500 words of content. This is actually pretty good, the service page here. The principle is there, and to enough of a point. Definitely, we could sit here and pick apart and nitpick every single website, but the homepage is right now is the most important. And a couple of quick things here is take this menu off this hamburger mobile menu, make it span across your header, lay out your services, your core services that you offer, expand this image full width or at least close enough to it. And let's move some information around here. I would definitely move these services up a little higher. I like these icons; they're great. They speak right to what you're looking for. But move them up a little higher right here. Is this doing you any favors? Do you want them to follow you on social media, or do you want them to call you when they have water damage? Those are just some things you want to think about. And a lot of it's going to sound like common sense, but until you really look at it this way, it really hopefully to shed some light on some of your personal websites that you have. You do have the satisfaction guaranteed, but look, you're making me dig for that. Get that right up in the homepage, man. That's really good. You're guaranteeing satisfaction. You're there in 24-hour emergency response time. You've got all these, you're certified through CRC and Normie. Get that up in the front. Show them right away why you're the #1 choice. They found you from Google. They want to be there. The other big thing I'm looking to, now that I'm looking at it, is you don't have an SSL on your site. Google rolled out a new algorithm towards the end of last year, maybe even last summer, that they're actually putting some weight on search results, whether or not you have an SSL. And what an SSL is a little lock that's going to be up here on the right-hand side of your site. So let's look at environmentals. I know they have one. This little lock right there. Okay, that's something that, look, they're $59.99 or so a year. It's a yearly thing, but I'll tell you right now, Google's, not only is Google looking at it, but anybody that's going to your website, Google Chrome is actually going to release an update pretty soon that they're going to give you a huge warning screen before they even let you go on a website that's not SSL protected. All right, so talk about, look, if you're spending $2,000 a month on search engine optimization or Google Ads, and somebody goes to your website and you get a big paywall that goes right in front of them that says this site is not secure, you're definitely not going to convert that traffic into sales. Your competition is, and for $60, don't risk it. So yeah, again, making sure you have that lock up there is super important. Another thing that they rolled out, let's see if we have one here, restoration doctors, not that I see, sometimes you put it full, is a privacy policy. It's something that's pretty important. Yeah, and you do have one, that's wonderful. Look, the cool thing about WordPress is that they actually have a button that'll populate a privacy policy, like a generic one, with a push of a button. So there's no excuses why you shouldn't have one on your site. Let's take a look at their mobile version of their website real quick. Let's pop this F12. And, honestly, the mobile site looks better than the desktop site. But you want to get those things consistent. You do have the call now button, damage your property, that's great. I would mix this up with some other banners, again, that speak to exactly who you're trying to talk to. And it looks like you have a YouTube API in here that's throwing some errors on the site. So I definitely have your web developer take a look at that. What that's going to do is it's going to affect the site speed on your site. And again, hey, look, we're all, these days it seems like everybody has ADD. So if something's taking too long, they're going to bounce right off and they're going to look at your competition. Some of this stuff is good, but we talk about font contrast. I can see this pretty well. I've got a huge monitor in front of my face, but if you think about your grandma or your grandpa looking at this, they may have a hard time reading this font because there's not a lot of contrast between the background and the color of the font. So easy way to do it, black on white. There you go, or white on a black background. You do have your services. On a mobile version of the site, honestly, I would move these services up towards the top because look, they're not trying to figure out what you do. They ended up on your site because they searched something out on Google and they need you to do this stuff. So get your services right there in front of them, okay? A lot of times we'll take these hero banners right off on the mobile version of the site and just limit the site to just the services, okay? And that's why, again, it's important to have a page for each one of your services. Okay, so let's see. It doesn't look like we have any more here. Let me just close this window out. Let's pull the. All right, so hopefully you guys got a lot out of that. We just did the website review, and let's recap some of the things we covered. Again, look, make sure you're setting clear goals for 2020. We're already in February. That means you probably stop going to the gym. You probably stop eating healthy by now, but don't let your business lapse, okay? Make sure you're sticking with those goals and you have them written down for yourself. We went over some of the fundamentals of web design. Our next part of our webinar, we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper. We're going to get a little techie. I'm going to do some source code generation. We're going to look at a lot of things that what makes a website tick and really shed some light on some of these principles and why we apply them outside of the common sense approach that we've talked about today. And we talked a little bit about optimizing your website for conversion in 2020 and beyond. As these webinars move and we add more of these to the list, we have our fingers on the pulse with Google. We are a marketing agency that specializes in the restoration niche. So, all these webinars are going to have some key tips that you're going to need to use that are current with this year. But if you really, at the end of the day, if you just apply those few principles that we talked about today, you're going to see a big difference in your conversion and traffic, okay? So if you're out there, you're spending money on SEO, your Google ads, you're running some paid social ads, and you're analytics driven, or your agency that's doing this stuff for you is providing you with analytics, I implore you to have them apply these principles. If you have it on your website already, that's awesome. Now we got to talk about what's next, and that's going to be coming up in these other webinars, okay? And remember, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So just thinking, hey, I want to make $5 million, that's wonderful, so do I. But you have to have a plan to get there, all right? It's harder and harder these days to rob banks. There's a lot of cameras around. So it's best practice is just to work on the business that you've been spending so much time on. And look, do you need help? We're always here. Again, this is what we do. I live, eat, breathe, and sleep marketing for restoration contractors. I was in this space for a long time in the contracting space, so I definitely understand what it takes to win, what it takes to succeed here, and what we do for our clients. If you'd like some help, let's talk. Here's some of our core services that we offer here. You can get in touch with us. Check out our website at ironcladrestorationmarketing.com/contact. It's going to get a direct line to me or JC, my partner here. You can check us out on Facebook. We're always putting out tips and tricks out there. I like to put a lot of videos out online just to give some tips and tricks. Look, video, I'm going to say it over and over and over again. These future webinars are going to be rolling out. Video is going to be a big part of that, and video is a big part of the future of marketing. So getting into the practices and using your cell phone, getting yourself on camera, talking about what a job's supposed to look like, what it takes to to remediate a job, all of those things. What makes you different? Get them on camera, get them videotaped, bank it for now. And when you're ready to roll out some sort of YouTube strategy or creating this digital omnipresence that we talked about, you're going to be that much further ahead of the game. And we also are very active on Instagram. We roll out those same tips on Instagram. So if you want to follow us at any one of these channels, all you have to do is copy and paste these links. We're also going to be emailing you all a copy of this webinar in the next couple of days as well, so you'll be able to reference back some of these tricks that we talked about. Again, today was a very macro overview of this stuff. I implore you to join on these webinars. You've got nothing to lose. We're out here just trying to help, and we're going to really crank down on some of these principles that we talked about here coming up in the future. And you can call us direct. This line rings direct to me. So if you have any questions on stuff, if you want us to check out your website, we'd be happy to provide a free video analysis of your site. We'll basically walk you through from script to screen everything you are, and we'll tell you the positives and we'll tell you the things that you can improve on, and that's absolutely free of charge. Okay, and as I promised, the reward that you guys are going to get for those of you guys that stuck around, I know it's been a while here, just under an hour, you will be getting the ultimate online marketing checklist that I promised you in the beginning. All you have to do is head on over to this web URL, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com/checklist. Just jump your email in there, and I'm going to have one of our team members email that right over to you. And this is a really good checklist. I mean, this is really, we put this together based off what's been working and what doesn't work for our clients. So if you walk yourself through this checklist from 1 to 10, and you just want to make sure you're hitting all these points. And it's a big reality check. I mean, we definitely, this checklist gets changed as the industry and the space changes. So, take this, use it. And again, if you have any questions, you could just give us a call. And that will do it today. Guys, listen, if you have any questions at all, we're going to be emailing you over this presentation, the entire video that we just went through today for reference. And if you have any questions at all you need to do is drop us a line here at any one of these contact areas that we talked about here, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com/contact, or you can get in touch with me directly. All right. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope you're excited about 2020 and maybe applying some of these principles. And look, if anything, you're already using some of these principles on your own website, more power to you. We're going to really dive into some things like search engine optimization, Google ad management, really diving into some, really looking under a microscope on web design, and some of the best practices that you can use in these future webinars. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys all later. Have a great Thursday. Have a really great rest of your week. Work on those goals.